We're about 5 miles west of Pueblo, Colorado on Highway 96. And you already know what you're about to see, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. These are not aspens, but they've clearly all lost their bark as a result of the plasma fire. So let's just dive right in. There's a fence between me and there and a big old thicket of bushes here, but I'm going to go ahead and try and make my way to this one because I can already see the center of this one's been burnt out and it flopped that way. So here we go, making our way in, and you can already see burnt here, unburnt here. This one's burnt on the inside, unburnt on the outside. Burnt, unburnt, fire don't do this. Everything's pretty lush and green around here. Those are willows right there, plenty of water. Anyway, let's get over there to the good stuff. Burn, unburn. This right here, whoa! That's the base of the tree, that's the inside. Burnt out on the inside, flopped over that way. See the burn line here? I'm pretty much not even gonna talk for the rest of the video, I'm gonna just show. See all the bark hanging off? Ouch. So this was the outside of the tree and it bent this way. And I've noticed this before where it actually bends the wood. It's almost like it gets it hot and practically melts the wood. Otherwise, how does a tree do a 90 like that in the burning process? It's like the ancients referred to a technique called softening of the stone, where you see these ancient structures with seamless, where the seams come together so precisely, it's like they literally softened the stone to get them to squeeze together. This would be something like the softening of the wood. And I've seen evidence before where it looks like this same directed energy weapons is the same technology used in creating crop circles. And Jamie Lee of A Plain Truth, basically became aware of this and pointed it out at the same time I did. And I was able to see it over there in Spanish Fork. Let's go over there to the main grove. I just discovered some really cool pieces that look like they deserve some lacquer. Anyway, the reason I say this is the same process or technology being used in these plasma fires is because in crop circles, the media, whether it's wheat or corn or barley or whatever the crop circle is made in, the pieces of barley, wheat, and corn are bent at a very specific angle, not broken. And that's what's happening with these trees and limbs, is being bent. So let's dive on in. Burnt spot. See how much more burned this one is compared to the one right next to it? When I told that cop that I delivered the educational materials for the children of Earth School, that was no lie. And one of the 10 pieces I delivered was that Baphomet mask. See how burnt it is right here at the top of this limb compared to the rest of the limb? Here's a tree that's bent, and we'll go get a closer look here in a minute. All through here you'll see this pattern where it's highly burnt with unburnt spots. And I know you've probably already developed an eye for this. I know you know that fire doesn't do this. It's really ain't the best of this stuff, but like I said, just watch as we pass through and notice the burn-unburn pattern everywhere. Ooh, we got some thunder rolling in. Anyway, let's go look at those bent trees and the ones that are like totally burnt from the inside. Yeah. And again, just notice everywhere you see white and black, fire don't do that. This one's kind of cool. You can see that it burned out the inside of the tree here. And here. Poor tree. Grab my sticks. I'm not sure exactly what these things are, but they're pretty cool. And what do we have here? Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. More of the same. Let's see. Just burnt along the inside, and even if the branch kind of corkscrews and does a spiral, so does the burn pattern, like that right there. And burnt up one side and not up the other. Ouch. I'm totally taking one for the team here in shorts with all this stinging nettle all over. I'm not just talking crap, that's the stinging nettle right there. You can see how this one, I'm going to throw my sticks down for a minute because I gotta see how this one and this branch is burnt on the backside, like it spiraled around right there. I'll go try and get a shot from the other side. Here's the bending tree. Here's the bending tree from the other side. You can see it was all burnt out in the middle there. Right up through the middle. And let's go check out this big old bad dad over here. Which has all the patterns. And it looks like it used to be rooted in the ground right there and pointed up, and it just tipped over. And I think that's what's gonna happen with a lot of these. I've seen it a lot of places where the trees are actually tipping over because their roots have been, you know, fried underground. This looks like a cool keeper piece. A little bit big, but maybe I can strap it down. Hold on. Ooh, I'll show you what it is before I flip it over. It's the outside of a tree, and it's completely burnt on the underside. I'm making a piece just like this, where I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna have a girl who paints, an artist friend of mine, put the tree with the lightning strike into it. That's the icon of my cover photo, I guess you say. So no need to mess around with that too much. Check this out. You can see the highly burned area right here. It goes up and away. It's not really focusing, but this was all one tree. That was all one tree. Burnt out up through the middle. This is hollow right here. I'm gonna get a shot from the other side where you can look right through that hole right there from the back side. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Here's looking up through that hole from the back side. And these lines right here, I've never quite seen anything like this. I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. I've seen plenty of bizarre burn patterns, but I'm not sure what that is. But this was all one tree. I'm going to back up and show you from a little further away. That wasn't two trees, that's one tree. It looks like two trees at the bottom now because it's been all burnt up. That was all one tree. A was-be tree. Let's go check out that one. So, I'm reaffirming that I think the water conducts the electricity, because I had to cross through reeds on this side of the road where there's a water. There's water over there, and there's water right here. And I've noticed this a lot, like it'll follow a river up a canyon. Fire typically burns up the hills. When it follows a river through a canyon for 100 miles, like it did the other day on the, forget the name of the river, but I'm pretty sure this electricity is attracted to water. And that's part of why we're seeing what we're seeing here. So I think that's probably about the best of what there is to see here. I'm gonna grab my little sticks and maybe grab a couple more shots on the way out. This is the one that got laid over that direction, and that's the root ball right there. And that's the burn pattern that fire doesn't cause. Something just moved over there. Probably just some falling bark. You see the bark coming off all the trees everywhere. You can see that this tree had a giant limb sticking out that way, or it would have been unbalanced. Got these two sticking that way, and the one that was growing out that direction was vaporized, like Robert Otay's trailer and kayak. And like he's sick of hearing people say it got vaporized. Just a forest fire. See all these quacks saying there's no forest fire. Huh, look, looks like forest fire to me, huh? Sorry they got to you, Robert, but you're gonna regret that. The truth matters more than the consequences of speaking it. Even if they told him, Robert, look, this is plasma coming up from the ground. It's not all directed energy weapons. So you need to calm your people and tell them that there might have been a little bit of directed energy weapons, but it's mostly forest fire. That way, when they see stuff that looks nothing like forest fire, you can say, well, that's the directed energy weapons part. That's where it was augmented. That way they don't think that directed energy weapons and the deep state are coming to smoke us all right in their homes. And that it's mostly forest fire. But if you eliminate the directed energy weapons and don't acknowledge that it was augmented by a little bit of dews, then the people are going to question, what's this? And if this is a natural phenomenon, what more do we need to know about? So just tell them it was mostly fire with a little bit of dew here and there. And whenever they see the burn patterns that don't match fires, well, that must be where it was augmented with a little dew. That way he can play both sides of the fence. It's directed energy weapons and it's not, to avoid acknowledging the truth that it's solar plasma or coming from the center of the earth. Either way, it's electricity, the likes of which no one's ever seen. Then you can tell, oh no, it's mostly just fire with little lasers. They fired a couple lasers, but it's mostly fire. That way they don't clue in and recognize the magnitude of what we're actually looking at here. You can reduce it to man-made directed energy weapons and natural fire, rather than acknowledging what we're looking at here, the magnitude and scope and the power of what we're seeing is unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. In order to keep the public from going into a mass hysteria, they would rather believe it's a little bit of directed energy weapons and forest fire than recognize that it's bigger than anything man could produce in the form of a fiber optic laser weapon like the Athena produced by Lockheed Martin. And it is a force of nature, which makes the magnitude of what we're looking at and the force and the power, we're going to go check out that one, more than what we want people thinking about. So just tell them wherever they see anything that's an anomaly that doesn't look like forest fire, oh, that's where it was augmented. Yeah, they might have shot a little laser there. This one was reduced to nothing. Likewise with one of the limbs on this tree, but the other one's fine. Just like the other one I said, it must have had a limb coming out here because the other one would have made that tree out of balance. It's like the electricity grounds into one limb and leaves the other one alone. Just like Robert Otay's fence post, one of them was disappeared and the other one was untouched. We're gonna go check out this tree. Sorry if I get a little excited. I'll leave a link in the description from the person formerly known as Robert Otay, who now goes by Callaway something or other. But you can see right on the cover photo of his video is a fence post with the burn patterns that cannot be caused by fire. Something happened to that guy. Someone talked to him after it happened and he changed his story. But that's his problem, and he's got to deal with that. Check out this tree. We're gonna go see the burn pattern right here, but that's the root ball that's come up out of the ground. That's the top of the tree. And here's just a middle section that burned super hard compared to everything around it. But before we go there, here's another example. Completely burned, untouched by comparison. That's how this works. When it grounds out, it chooses one path for the current to travel, and what's standing right next to it can be untouched, just like the houses in paradise. One house burned, one house untouched. One house burned, One house untouched. And the amount of heat and energy it takes to burn this much wood down to that and have it sitting right next to wood that's untouched is proof that what I'm describing here is far closer to what you're seeing than anyone who says fire. Again, we need to come up with a name for those people. Pyrotards, flame tards, and they can call us plasmidiots or whatever. I'm up here on this log just to show you right there, this tree. You can zoom up in this part from the bottom, and it doesn't quite poke a hole out the top like one of those other trees where I looked up in through and saw the hole out the top. But that's a pretty big tree. And I'm actually standing on the tree that we saw laid over with the root ball there at the end. I'm curious how many of the people around here have even looked at what I'm showing you. Not that they understand it, but have even looked at it and questioned, what the hell did this? And how many of them drive right by it or even live right by it, like that house up there, and look down here and see fire. Oh yeah, there was a wildfire went through there last year. Yeah, that's why that all looks like that. And don't even see it right in front of their face. Talk about a separation of consciousness. It drives them into a state of denial and self-delusion so deep, there's no way out. But it breaks others who can see it free, and that's the separation process, the filtration. That's why I suggest having an identity crisis as often as possible, because the possible number of selves, the possible selves become fewer in number and more concrete. With each one of these opportunities that you have to reassess everything you think you know, and you do not, you maintain your current worldview, it becomes more concrete. With each passing opportunity for an identity crisis, the most common of which is the midlife crisis, the possible selves or possible worldviews that you have access to becomes fewer in number and more concrete. Whether or not you choose to reassess or keep your current worldview and paradigm, the number of possible paradigms and worldviews you will be able to have thereafter is always fewer, and the one you are left with thereafter is always more concrete than it was prior to the opportunity that you had. That's why those who see this and pass it along and do not see it for what it is are doomed. They will never wake up. But having this opportunity to be able to see this allows some the opportunity to wake up and assures that others who don't wake up never will. And that's why we need to be willing to let them go, because they've proven their consciousness is already gone. They're the walking dead. Let the dead bury the dead. See this one? Notice all the spots of unburned here and there? If that guy sees it and doesn't think anything of it, well, he's chosen his own path, hasn't he? Because he has other things more important that he'd like to focus his attention on. And seeing the size of his house, I'm sure there's a good chance he doesn't see shit. It is easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than to get someone who has material wealth to look at this world for what it is. And that's why I found Christians, the truthers out in the wilderness, when you haven't seen anyone, you're so far outside the hassle-free zone, you haven't seen anyone because of the uncharted territory that you're traversing. For a long time, the people who you do run into are Christians because their personal attachment to this world is less. Someone who's so highly invested in this world that their daily experience is all about making more money and paying the bills and talking about interest rates and payroll and profit margins is going to look at this and go, oh yeah, it's fire, I got things to do. Just like the guy in Park City who came out and asked me, what are you doing? And I told him filming the plasma burns. What plasma burns? Told him, you see that square on that telephone pole over there? Yeah, you know what caused it? I ain't got time for this. And he runs off. Prior to that point, he was acting like he was gonna call the cops and have me hauled away. As soon as I showed him something he didn't want to see because he can't explain it, I ain't got time for this anymore. A minute ago, you were gonna wait here till the cops got here if I didn't give you a good explanation. These are the unburned spots I speak of. One of those gifts of Baal. It's a double-edged sword. It can set you free, or it can show that you don't want to be free. And that you're not a prisoner, you're a slave, and you choose to stay on the plantation. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. You can show a person the truth, but you can't force them to see it if they don't want to. And that is truly how these are creating the separation of consciousness. All right, that's enough out of me. I will shut the hell up. Soon as I go see that one more tree right over there, it looks like another bendy tree. Here's another paraplegic tree missing a limb. See if we can go look down in there. Yeah, this one's got to be the grand finale. You can see the bottom of the tree used to come clear around here. That it was burnt out on the inside so much that there's a thin outer shell of that side before it flopped over. There and here. So the tree above here was about like right here. You can see this fine line of burn, unburn, burn. Oop. Huge. I'm gonna go throw my shoe in the bottom of there just so you can see how big it is. See my little tiny shoe? Gives you a clue as to how big that tree was and how much energy it takes to burn that much wood and leave this part completely unburned. And the base of the tree came out to around here. Talking that's like a 15-foot around. Like, it's huge. Okay, you can see that. That's a little puny human shoe in the middle-sized hand. All right, all right. Yeah, no, that's got to be the